tonight. He's the former NFL coach, future Hall of Famer, Tony Dungy from Football Night in America, joining us on the program. How big do you think this story was yesterday with Jason Collins, Coach?
Obviously it's getting a lot of play, and everyone was kind of waiting. You heard all year the rumors someone was going to come out in the NBA or the NFL, and it's a big story, no question about it.
Is the NFL the last frontier for this?
It appears to be, but again, I think, Dan, everybody in the NFL is trying to win too, and that's the bottom line. Hey, if you can win, you can help us. That's what we're looking for. That's the way most coaches and GMs think, and I don't think there's anybody in the NFL that begrudges anybody a chance to make a living and live the way they want. I know for me, I didn't always agree with everybody's lifestyle, no matter what it was. But you try to work with everybody, and you try to coach the players you have, and I think that's the way most coaches would approach it.
If you were a coach and you had Jason Collins or a player sort of like him, and that's a role player, how would you advise him? Or what would you advise your team? How would you handle that in the locker room, which seems to be the big question with all of this?
Yeah, and I think you do that regardless of what the situation is. You have guys that have all kinds of issues, personal issues, and you try to keep it in the family, keep it in-house, support everybody. But, you also try to talk to people and try to help them out. And, my door was always open in terms of any kind of personal issues. But I think the big thing as a coach with your players, hey, let's keep this in-house and keep it amongst ourselves and be supportive of our teammates.
Do you think that Jason Collins more likely or less likely to get a job after coming out?
Boy, that's a hard question. I don't know the lay of the land in the NBA and the landscape. I don't have an opinion on that one.
I want to ask you about, we're talking to Tony Dungy, Football Night in America. Tim Tebow, I know that you've always felt that he was, you would have used a top draft pick on Tim Tebow, and here he is on the outside looking in. What advice would you give Tim Tebow right now, Coach?
Well, he's in a tough spot because in two places that he's gone, there's just been so much drama. And I think most teams, especially good teams, you say, do I really want to add that drama? And then number two, if you're looking at him as a quarterback, you really have to be ready to shape your offense that way. So that kind of limits the places he could go. What I see for Tim now is going to some place where they're running that form of offense, or being ready to change positions, and he certainly could do that. If people are saying, hey, I don't want to, put my quarterback in the position Mark Sanchez was in, let me just bring him in at another position, and he can help us. Tim's a football player, so I think those are his two options right now. You
would have him play another position if it meant staying in the NFL?
Well, I think if that's what he wants to do, I think he's got those two options. Some place where they're running that, and he can come in and be a complementary piece to an offense. And I'm hearing that Seattle's not interested, or Washington, but some place like that where they're doing it already, but he's probably going to be the backup quarterback, or you know what, I'm just going to go play, and I'll play fullback, or I'll play H-back, or I'll do something else and contribute if he wants to play in the NFL. That's what it's looking like to me.
If the Jets had Tim Tebow starting last year instead of Mark Sanchez, would they have won more games?
I think they would have won more games. You saw that in Denver last year, but you had to commit to that. If you're going to do it, you have to do what the Broncos did and say, hey, we're going to change it. We're going to build it around our running game. We're going to build it around the read option and things that he can do. And, it takes boldness to do that, and the Jets weren't ready to do that. They were committed to Sanchez.
How would you feel if you're Mark Sanchez after the Jets draft?
I'd feel like I have something to prove, and I'd feel like, I can go out there and show everybody that I was a playoff quarterback. I was in the championship game twice, and I can still do it. And that's the mindset I'm going to take. And I don't care who comes in here, whether it's Tebow or E.J. Manuel or whoever, they still have to beat me out. And that's the approach I would take.
Matt Barkley going in the fourth round, going to the Eagles and Chip Kelly. You like that marriage?
Well, Chip, I tell you what, has seen him, and he knows the positives of Barkley. Barkley beat him when Oregon had a really, really good team, so he knows what this guy can do. he's not going to be. He's going to be more like Nick Foles. So it'll depend on probably who the quarterback is, the style of offense they run. But he's seen him up close and personal. I was surprised that he lasted that long. I didn't think he was the best quarterback in the draft, but I liked him. And quarterbacks are so hard to come by. I thought he would have gone sooner.
But I look at this, and people, I think, have a misconception of Chip Kelly's offense. It's not that I have to have a running quarterback. I have to have a quarterback who runs my offense, and that is we're going to speed this up. You're seeing that Denver, Peyton's trying to squeeze out more plays. Patriots, they lead the league in plays. They're trying to squeeze out more plays. Everybody is now in this hurry-up offense, and I think that's what Chip is trying to do. I want us running more plays, and if I get 100 more plays at the end of the year, I like my chances. So Barkley can run the offense. Vic can run the offense. Foles can run the offense, but I think it's more about who can go to the line of scrimmage and fire off another play, come back, regroup, fire off another play, and put this defense on their heels, get him exhausted.
Well, you're right, Dan. It's quick decision-making, it's accuracy, and Chip will take advantage of what the quarterback can do. I saw him play for 4 years, and every quarterback was different. And probably the best thrower that he's had is the guy that's there now, Marcus Mariota. But Darren Thomas, he had a different style than he did with Masoli, Dennis Dixon. He's used all kinds of quarterbacks. And if the quarterback is not a great runner, he won't have him run a lot. But it will be fast-paced. It'll be quick decisions. It'll be making first downs very quickly. And all those guys can do that, Barkley, Foles, and Mike Vick.
Would you have taken Honey Badger?
I doubt that I would have taken him. I talked to Tyron a couple times in the off season. Les Miles had me talk to him, and I just would worry, a guy who kind of knew the lay of the land, and LSU went out of their way, and he had problems staying eligible there. So it would have had to have been really, really late in the draft for me. But, going there with Patrick Peterson and the guy he respects, I think that's his best chance to make it.
So Les Miles brings you in to just talk to him?
Well, I talked to Tyron. I talked to several guys on their team, not necessarily guys with problems like that, but just guys that he wanted me to talk to before their last year. And then I talked to the whole team. So I had a good time down there, got to meet a lot of those guys. And he was Coach was concerned about Tyron, and Tyron was also. And he kind of knew some of the problems that he had going back to New Orleans and staying away from the wrong crowd. So, it's just something he's got to work on, and maybe getting away from that New Orleans atmosphere and getting out to Arizona, that could help him.
Did you trust him when you met him? I mean,
oh yeah, he's a great kid. He really does, and he admitted all his issues and the problems that he had, and what some of the problems were. He knew, he identified it, and didn't try to hide anything. And everybody liked him, and Coach Miles was definitely trying to help him. And that's the thing, and I think that's why Arizona took a chance, because when you do meet him, he is engaging. He loves to play the game. He's a good teammate. All his teammates just vouch for him and hope the best for him. So I am too. I'm hoping that maybe a change in scenery and environment and getting with the right people will help him out.
But you wouldn't have drafted him?
I wouldn't have. I don't think so. Not after I know everything that LSU did to try to help him. I just think it's going to be a long road.
As far as the team draft that you loved, that stood out, and you said, all right, I like Minnesota. I know your guy Leslie Frazier's the coach there, but was there a team that stood out and you go, that's going to be something that we'll see on the field this next season?
Yeah, they made some bold moves, Minnesota did, and I liked what they did. I like what Tampa did, and you have to kind of look at not just the draft, but free agency and drafting Darrelle Revis, number one, and adding that in. They had the lowest-ranked pass defense in the league. They added Golston in free agency. They got arguably the best corner in football, and then drafted another corner.
But would you have paid that money to Darrelle Revis, Coach?
Well, I don't think it's this money that's the problem. It's the next money that's coming. If he plays as well as they think he can play, they may not have enough money to pay him the next time around. But I think this little bit of money, what is $15-16 million, they weren't concerned about that.
Man, I wouldn't pay that. I would not pay that, Coach. Nobody's coming to see Revis, and I know that it's a pass-happy conference there with Matty Ice and Drew Brees, but I'm not paying my corner $16 million.
Well, that's what they looked at. How can we get this pass defense squared away? How can we deal with Matt Ryan and Drew Brees and Cam Newton and all the receivers there? That's what we're going to have to do to win this division.
Man.
And, again, I don't think it'll be this contract. It'll be, if he performs, it'll be the next contract, which may be coming up in October or November.
All right, second most important player on the field from a coaching perspective, aside from the quarterback, is who?
I think now it really is the pass rusher. It's that guy who can create havoc when you need it in the fourth quarter. The Clay Matthews of the world, that when you have to have that big play on 3rd down and 5 to get off the field, they can single-handedly disrupt an offense. That's what I'd be looking for. And I think you saw that in this draft. Deion Jordan, who was a really, really good player at Oregon, but now all of a sudden he's the 3rd player picked in the draft because he's 6'5" and long arms and great speed, and people are hoping that he can be that disruptive force.
Good to visit with you, Coach. Be seeing you soon.
All righty, Dan. Looking forward to it.
He's Tony Dungy, former NFL coach and analyst on Football Night in America.